All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. Usually, when I'm interviewing someone on the show, I have kind of a frame of reference for what kind of music they play. I mean, even if it's sort of vague, there's still an idea that I have of like, this person fits in this genre. But the person I'm talking to today, you're kind of all over the place, and I know we'll get into that into sort of what you do musically. But it's rare that I'm talking to someone who is this difficult to put in a box. I mean, usually, a lot of artists I have on the show, they have different influences and different styles, but you're doing three or four different, completely different things musically. So to start all this off, if you want to introduce yourself and give a bit of background about what you do as an artist, and then we can kind of get into all the various paths you've taken with music.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm Mario Legacy. I currently perform as Oso Mario, Mario and Maria, and then I also have other side projects such as Moonish, and my wife and I have a thing called Croquette and Crokinole. But yeah, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I've been making hip hop for about a year, which has been kind of my focus, but I also do folk and lo-fi and just kind of whatever I feel like. It feels great. I've been learning fiddle.
Cool. That's different. So with the hip hop thing, I mean, that's obviously like you said, that's your focus here. How does that sort of fit into the like the universe of all these different projects you have? Because hip hop seems like the odd one out in the sense that I mean, folk and lo-fi are obviously different, but it's a little more connected, right? It seems like the hip hop is sort of its own separate entity. How did that come about?
Well, it really came about because I had a project that finished, if I think 2 summers ago, called Efflo, and we did something called Death Pop, but really it was just like kind of heavy bass, heavy pop music, and
Okay.
that was kind of my main thing for a long, long time. And then after that finished, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I like wrote a random sci-fi space opera, just trying to figure out what I was going to do. I started that Moonish project where I just did lo-fi music, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to make something that like bopped and like made people move. Like I really just want to explore that like feeling that people can get from hip hop. It's kind of my favorite genre that I've listened to. Like I probably listen to it more than anything else. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to find a place where I could do bass heavy music and also be kind of funny, which is
Yeah.
fun and like an interesting aspect of hip hop that I really, really wanted to explore. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's weird, but it does come from something that's been kind of brewing for a long time.
Okay. Okay. That fun aspect, I think, a lot of hip hop has it. A lot of it is very serious, but there's
Yeah.
still plenty of it going back decades that has. I mean, you got skits on a lot of albums. You got like a lot of punchlines in rap battles and things like that. Like it's definitely an element of it. Is making hip hop different? Do you have to approach it differently than some of the other genres you played? For example, if you said you're a multi instrumentalist, you're playing the fiddle, you're playing other things. I mean, is making beats for hip hop, is that a completely different sort of part of your brain that you use to put that together, or does it connect to sort of your other endeavors?
It kind of is a different part of my brain because I think mostly in terms of textures, and always when I'm writing hip hop stuff, I'm thinking in terms of like the visual that I'm portraying.
Okay.
So it really is a totally different process. And I write it on my laptop, which is a thing. Like my Mario and Maria stuff, it's all folk. I write it on my guitar purely, but this is all just focused on my laptop. I don't use samples in the traditional way or anything like that, and all that, whatever. But yeah, yeah.
Sure, sure. So how do you keep all this? How do you juggle all of this? I mean, I know you said the hip hop project is sort of the focus right now, but you have all of these different things. Is it possible to sort of be doing all of these all at once, or do you have to compartmentalize them and sort of focus on one for a while and move on to the next?
You definitely have to compartmentalize and kind of decide what you're working on right now. Like I'm really, really lucky because in my day job, I teach music to kids at a fully fleshed out studio. So I
Cool.
can spend my downtime playing drums and like just staying sharp on all my instruments and all that stuff. But like, for instance, I have a gig next week with a jazz group where I'm doing bass stuff. And so I'm going to be focusing on that for a whole week. And like, that'll be
Okay.
my like main instrument that I do. But like, to answer your question, no, it's not really possible, but you just kind of have to make it do. And
Right.
like, I can't do everything on a guitar. So I have to branch out a little bit.
And then a lot of these projects too are well, some of them are solo projects, but then you also are working with other people. Do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer sort of doing your own thing, or are you more comfortable working in a group setting or a duo setting or some of these other projects you have?
It depends, but I've always kind of been the guy who is down to like flesh out the song and like produce it out and actually like spend time on my laptop and do it. So I've always kind of incorporated a lot of just working by myself into projects that I do. But I do love working with other people, and like I miss being in bands. Like I still play with Paper Machetes, and like I
Okay, yeah,
have
right
that thing
on.
next week and whatnot. Yeah, they're awesome. I love them so much. And like I just did a gig with Quiet, who was really really great. But so like I do get to still play with people, but I'm kind of a control freak in some ways. Like when like deep down, like I love spending time just like really analyzing a song and coming up with weird sounds and stuff that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do in the moment with people in the room. So
Sure.
it's both. Again, yeah. Like I like to explore everything.
And are you sort of half doing your own thing and half a hired gun for whoever needs? It sounds like you're playing with a lot of
Yeah,
different people on top of your own stuff as well.
yeah. I'll play with pretty much anybody if they offer me a gig, just because it's I my favorite thing in the world is performing. All of this is just a venue to perform for me. So yeah, I'll do that. I also do live sound. Like I do folk fest, and
Oh, cool,
I've done like just all kinds of stuff. I'm blanking on those ones right now, but yeah, I
cool.
do. I'm all over the place.
Well, with that sort of I guess the background doing live sound in mind, and what you just said a couple minutes ago about sort of looking for those weird sounds, is that something that happens when you listen to music as well? Like, are you looking for sort of
Oh
unique
yeah,
sounds in other people's stuff?
big time. I realized like a little while back, people asked me what my favorite rapper was, and I realized that all my answers were based on the production, basically.
Okay,
Other than
okay,
like Kendrick Lamar, who's just like an incredible rapper, blah blah blah. Like all of the other rappers that I listen to all the time, it's because they work with like Madlib or DJ Muggs or these artists who are so good at putting together crazy sounds that I haven't heard before. And that's really what I seek.
okay.
That's what I like to listen to. Like I'm always listening to new stuff just to hear interesting sounds.
Do you how much of that new stuff do you absorb? Does it like get sort of pushed back subconsciously, and do you hear some of those sounds coming out in your own? Not maybe not a direct directly playing a certain sample or a certain bass line or whatever, but does that stuff come out in your own music? Do you feel it sort of pouring through you a little bit in subtle ways,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, 100%. Like it depends on who I'm listening. Honestly, a lot of what I make is flavored by whatever I'm listening to at the time. Like if I made a song the other day that was the new Charlie XCX album, and it came out more club heavy banging stuff
Right.
like that. So like it always does leak in a little bit, but like my thing that I'm doing, like every day I listen to new music a whole bunch, and there's like maybe one or two songs that I go back to, and those tend to be the ones that influence me. Like I mentioned DJ Muggs, when I found him, I had a whole new avenue for hip hop where things were like really heavy and like slow, and it
Yeah.
felt cool.
Cool.
I
Cool.
really like him.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I still love those first couple Cypress Hill records too. They're awesome.
Yeah,
But what and some of the other things you did too for sure. But what do you look for? I mean, you said some of these songs that you go back to. What are you looking for as a listener? Like what sort of sparks your interest? Because again, you're sort of in all these different genres and you're interested in different stuff. So what makes a song by someone else something that you are going to go back to time and time again?
the major thing is that it just like evokes a particular feeling. Like it's specific, and it's I can relate it to something or a time in my life or something like that. But really, just the idea is that it paints a beautiful picture, and I like to look at it every once in a while. Like I see a lot of pictures, but I forget them. But those ones, I'm like, oh, I remember that. There's something nice about that. Like, and it all comes down to vibe. Like a
Sure.
song can be sung terribly and guitars can be out of tune, but if the vibe's there, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I like to hear that because I agree with that completely. Some of the best stuff I've heard, the guy might be singing off key or it's a terrible quality recording and
Yeah,
guitars how to. But yeah, if the feeling's there, the energy's there, the emotion behind the music is there, I definitely that's
yeah,
what makes
like
it good, right? It's not virtuosity. Sometimes
yeah,
it can
yeah.
be.
It could be, but yeah, very little do I listen to like that guy shreds and he's so fast. But like if the tones are the same that I've heard 1,000 times, then it doesn't excite me necessarily,
Yeah,
unless it's really cool.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So does that pursuit of something different does that kind of inform all these different projects? Like, is that why you're doing so many different things because you're trying to find sort of that sound that hasn't been made before?
Yeah, pretty much. And like I at this point, I'm pretty happy with the three that I've got going. For a while, I just started projects and they died. Like every
Right,
month, I'd have something new kind of thing. But these three are good because I do hip hop stuff, which is like pretty specific. And like if I'm rapping, it's going to be an Oso Mario song. Then
right.
if I write a song that is like on my acoustic guitar, which is pretty much most of what I do, it's a Mario and Maria song. Maria's my guitar. And then if it's anything else, it's Moonish.
Okay, okay,
And like I'm pretty happy with that as it's going now. And I'm putting out songs, like I have 3 or 4 or something coming out. So like they're I'm happy with this focus right now. Like I don't
cool.
need more. And me and my wife make like kid songs, which is super fun. And like once a week we get together and write a stupid song, and it's so much fun and different than all the other ones. And it's its own
Yeah,
thing.
I think I saw something about that on your website about doing kid stuff, and so I mean that just like the hip hop thing, that's got to be a whole other section of your brain you're using because the audience
Yeah.
is so different, right? I mean, like I have kids; they're older now, but I mean, I did. There's something about kids' music that actually hits with the kids that it's something particular, right? Like, I mean, it's not necessarily the same thing that'll work with an adult listener.
Not at all. It's way more fun to write too, just because you have to make almost every line kind of more like impactful and more of a story. It's more of a journey, and like it's more important that you're just like singing and having fun. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a strange change from like writing like heavy hip hop about serious stuff, which I don't do too often. But like it's more fun, and like I write songs sometimes that are like pretty light and like I wrote a song about a bluebird, and like it could be a
yeah.
kid song. So like I'm in that realm already a little bit, and just doing it with my wife is great because we bounce off each other really really well. And she's been a
Sure.
songwriter for years. She was in Bunny, and she's also in Paper Machetes and all this stuff.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, just to stick on the kids stuff for a minute, is it harder to write song? Are kids harsher critics than adults? Because I mean, I think
Hell yeah.
not in the like the actually criticizing it, but in the sense that you can tell right away if they don't like it, right? If a kid likes something, it's it. They don't have to say it. It's all over their faces and the way they're moving to it. But if they don't like it, it's the same thing. It's equally as sort of non-responsive, right?
Yeah, they are the best audience if you have the good stuff. If you don't have the good stuff, they're the worst audience possible. It's so fun. Like I work with kids and all day like they hear me working on my tunes, and if one of the like 13-year-old boys who likes hip hop likes one of my hip hop songs, that makes me happier than anyone else because they
Yeah.
will tell me if they're like this is garbage. Like what are you talking about? They will tell me straight up. Other people will be like I liked it.
Right, and then you don't know if they actually liked it or not, or whether they're just trying to be nice. But yeah, kids are a
Yeah.
little more honest, right?
I love it. It's so much fun, and like thankfully so far I've only done things with kids that they've liked. But one day I know I'm going to hit something, and it's not going to go well. But
Yeah.
we'll see when we get
Well, I mean, I guess if that does happen, you can always use the excuse of like, you've aged out of that genre, whatever the genre happens to be.
there. Yeah,
It's like, it's for younger people now. I don't have to do it anymore.
exactly. Whatever. It's for kids.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So with all these projects, I mean, I know, like you just said, you're putting out a lot of songs. I know you have a bunch of music online. Do you have, I mean, do you plan these out as far as, you're going to release, say, an EP with this one project or an album with the other one? Or is it really just sort of whatever comes out that you happen to be working on or happen to be focused on at the time, individual songs?
It's mostly just whatever I'm working on at the time. But with my rap one, I released 2 lead singles and then I have an 8 song EP, and I'm kind of hoping to build a little bit more hype around that project particularly
Yeah.
before I release it. So that one I'm planning things a little bit, but mostly it's just whatever I'm working on. And like this past weekend, my wife was away, so I recorded 3 Mario and Maria songs real quick, and like I'll put those out in like a month or two. And
Yeah.
I don't put too much thought into it. I find it much healthier for me to just put stuff out and not worry about it too much.
Do
Because
you, do
otherwise I
you,
get in that cycle of like it's not ready, and I hate that. I hate that
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Well, you can get so deep into that, right? That it
Yeah.
never gets released then because you're tinkering with it so much that it loses sort of what made it good in the first place.
Yeah, it never ends. There's no actual end point. You just have to put it out at some point.
What is your, how do you deal with, once it's out there? I mean, because I mean, it's out of your hands, right? Once you've released it, it's the other people are going to take it, they're going to listen to it, they're going to interpret it however they want, they're going to like it, they're going to hate it. Are you comfortable with other people sort of now having access to your? I mean, I know you want to put it out, but the idea of you've been working on this, you want to get it out there, and then how comfortable are you with people sort of now they can critique it whether they do or not. Now they can give you feedback. Now the feedback may not be great. It might be something totally different than what you expected. Like, are you good with that, or some people are really struggle with that?
I've been good with it, but like, yeah, if I get something negative, it would be interesting to see how I handle it, because I've had like a couple like ish meh reviews on like past projects, but nothing like trashing me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like, I just am happy that people can listen to it, because I've for many, many, many years I just had songs sitting on a hard drive. I'm the only person that heard it. My
Yeah.
wife heard it. That's it. And I just don't want that to be how my songs live. I want people just to be able to hear it. It's
Do you
nice.
have do you have a lot of that stuff still? Like, do you still have a hard drive full of music that hasn't been released, or are you
Yeah.
actually actively putting this stuff out there?
I am now trying to put out as much stuff that is ready as possible, but I'm working on things that I've made in the last like little while because there's years and years of that. I have a folder called like okay stuff, garbage, all right stuff, and like there's like dozens and dozens of tracks in those because that's what I did with my old band Eflo and Estimira. I would just make tracks and tracks and tracks, and we would listen through them and decide which one to work on, and that's how we
Yeah.
did it. So no, I'm not putting out everything, but I'm putting out a lot, and I'm very very happy about it.
I like to hear that you keep the garbage ones too. You have the folder of the stuff you don't like. It's
I
that's
love
probably
listening to it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
No,
just got
no,
excited because
that's
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, no, so maybe just what you just said there, but you like listening to it. What do you get out of it? I mean, if it's a song that you've labeled garbage, what is sort of the what is the benefit, I guess, to you to re-listen to it and hear it again?
For one, it's humorous. It's just nice to listen to. It's funny to hear something that you have decided is awful. I also like to show it to kids sometimes if they're having a hard time writing stuff. I'm like, listen to this, and I play them some awful, awful thing I made, and it's like I made that. Like I own it. I made it. That's me. So that's it's an informative tool.
Sure.
And like every once in a while, maybe I like spend some time making a cool tone and I can use that tone for something else. Or like I've used chord progressions from like old stuff many, many, many times. So like things happen, you know, they inform them.
Is that sort of why you keep them around too? Just on the off chance that something from this recording might trigger something new, something different?
Yeah, I don't like to get rid of stuff if I don't have to. Like it's just a matter of archiving things and throwing them onto a folder and forgetting about it. I have a couple
Yeah,
hard drives and I'd rather be able to revisit it if I can
that makes
because it's
sense.
fun.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you haven't heard it in a long time too, to pull something up completely randomly from, like you said, years ago. How do people hear your stuff? Because again, I mean, there's all these different projects, the kids stuff, there's the hip hop stuff, there's the, with your guitar. What's the best way to sort of find out about what you're doing? Is there like a one stop shop where people can go to hear what you're working on?
Probably Instagram is the best place. I'll post about everything on there, and I'll yeah, Instagram's probably the best place. And I think that links to a Facebook page, but I don't honestly visit
Right, but it
that.
exists. It exists. If,
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it does exist that, and it has my things on there. So yeah, the Instagram's probably the best place. Mario's music. I
cool.
decided to put it all under one name because there's too many things. I can't run that many Instagrams.
Yeah, it's I run a couple of them and it's already enough. It's more than enough.
Yeah.
So is it? I mean, we're in this weird era now where like on one hand, it's so much better that people can make music like you're doing and just put it out there right away. I mean, you don't have to go through any jump through any hoops to do it. You can just upload it on your computer and it's boom, it's online. But then like there's also this whole side of marketing your music that everyone has to do on their own now. I mean, everyone sort of has to be a PR person. They got to be an advertiser. All of these different aspects that even 10 years ago maybe it wouldn't have been sort of on an independent artist to do themselves. Well, it would have been on a lot of them, but you know what I mean. Like, how do you handle that part of it? Because it's hard to pin down what you do, right? So, do you and like you said, you don't want a million Instagram pages. So, what is that part of it been like for you? Trying to get people to hear it in the first place.
It's a weird process that I definitely haven't figured out. But thankfully, I'm in a place where I don't mind as much as I used to. But like I for a long time, I was in a label system. Like for my band Eflo, like it was amazing using their money for marketing and like making videos. Oh my
Yeah,
god, it was so awesome to actually have real music videos. But like I don't feel too bad about doing it all myself because it's like if I don't do it, then I either have to find somebody else to do it or pay someone to do it, and
yeah,
I don't have money, and I'd rather just do it myself than like go and email a bunch of people.
for sure. Well,
You know,
so I guess you're not. I mean, you're not necessarily worried about whether people are going to hear it en masse, right? It's just you're putting it out there, and the people who want to find it are the people who are gonna get it.
more or less, like that's kind of where I'm at. But I do definitely want to get more. Like I still put stuff out, and like I make like little videos, and like I do okay on TikTok. I put out some
Okay.
TikToks, and like it's not like funny stuff. I just cover songs and maybe like write a new verse to a hip hop song or something like that and put it out. So like I am making stuff and like slowly growing, very, 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 very slowly. But I'm not. seeking it so much anymore. I used to
Sure.
seek it hard, and it wasn't great for the mental health.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
What is there an entry point to your music? Like if someone's hearing about you for the first time on this show and they hear about all these projects, I mean, we'll have some song clips in here too. They know you're focusing on hip hop, but you've done this and this and this. What's the entry point to your music? Would you just sort of recommend the current thing that's happening, or is there sort of a starter starter
That's a
song
great,
nation?
yeah, that's a good question. Because I guess do you want folk or do you want hip hop? Those are probably your
Right.
first two choices. If you want hip hop, there's Oso Mario, and like I only have two songs out right now. There's a few more coming out, but any of those are good to listen to. They're both kind of bangers. And Mario and Maria is it if you want folk, and that's on YouTube. And I have a 3-song EP coming out here. I wrote it down on November 15th.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's with the folk stuff, or
Yeah,
is that the
that's all
hip
my
hop?
folk stuff.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
folk stuff. Yeah, Mario and Maria.
Cool. Cool.
Me and my guitar.
Do you have a preference? I mean, I know right now your hip hop is the focus, but do you have a do you, is there do you prefer rapping? Do you prefer playing with the guitar folk stuff, or do you prefer being in a band? Is there a top choice for you?
Not really, but I like at the end of the day, if I had to pick one, I would probably pick just playing on my guitar because it's just so relaxing and nice, and that's kind of what I started with.
Yeah,
And like hip hop, it's a whole other vibe to just suddenly start rapping at somebody rather
sure.
than to like sing them a nice song.
And I guess the guitar too. You can take that. You can take just singing a song on acoustic guitar, and it can go all these broad different categories of music. You could
Yeah.
you can electrify it. You can add other musicians. But yeah, I can see that for sure.
If the power grid goes down, I'll still have my electric guitar. I
Awesome.
mean, acoustic guitar. Oh my god,
Acoustic guitar. Yeah,
I messed
yeah.
that up, but yeah.
Right on. Right on.